The room doesn't explode all at once. It tightens first, like a held breath, like a string pulled so far back it starts to tremble. 1 second the audience is applauding on cue, smiling for the cameras, basking in the familiar rhythm of daytime television. The next, everything changes. Taylor Swift's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Joy Behar leans forward just a little too much. And somewhere between them, in that brightly lit studio that suddenly feels too small, something unscripted is about to happen. If you're not subscribed to Neon Narration, now is the moment. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment, because stories like this don't just unfold, they detonate. The applause fades, but the energy doesn't. It lingers, buzzing in the air like static after lightning. Taylor sits perfectly straight on the couch, ankles crossed, hands folded in her lap. She looks calm. That's the first warning sign. People who followed her career know that look. The one she wears right before a lyric cuts a little too close to the bone. Across from her, Joy Behar adjusts her glasses, wearing that familiar half-smile, half-smirk that signals she's about to push. The audience senses it too. A ripple moves through the seats. Phones lower. Eyes sharpen. This isn't just another segment. Joy starts lightly, as she always does. A joke. A tease. Something about pop stardom, about influence, about playing the victim in a world that's already listening. The words land softly, but not gently. Taylor nods at first, polite, measured. Inside her head, though, a different soundtrack is playing. Years of interviews. Years of being dissected, labeled, reduced to headlines. She tells herself to breathe. This is daytime TV. Smile. Redirect. Move on. But Joy doesn't move on. She circles back, sharper this time, her voice casual but pointed. She references feuds, manufactured drama. The idea that some artists thrive on outrage. The camera cuts to Taylor's face just as her jaw tightens. It's subtle. Blink and you miss it. But the crowd doesn't miss it. A few murmurs rise. Someone in the front row leans forward, elbows on knees. This is no longer background noise television. This is a moment people will remember. Taylor responds calmly, choosing her words with surgical precision. She talks about storytelling, about songwriting as reflection, not retaliation, about how women in music are often punished for expressing emotions that men are praised for. Polite applause breaks out. Joy nods, but there's a glint in her eye. She's not done. Well, Joy says, tilting her head, some people might say you've mastered the art of turning criticism into profit. That's when the air truly shifts. Taylor inhales. It's a deep breath, the kind you take before stepping onto a stage, or into a fight. She looks directly at Joy now, no longer playing to the cameras. The lights are hot. The studio is silent in a way that feels almost violent. Even the band seems frozen. Can I ask you something? Taylor says, her voice steady, but lower now. The warmth is gone. Joy gestures for her to continue, but the audience senses the turn. This isn't a question meant to be answered easily. Taylor leans forward slightly, mirroring Joy's posture. Two worlds colliding across a coffee table. When a woman tells her own story, Taylor continues, why is it called manipulation? But when someone else tells it for her, it's called commentary. A wave moves through the crowd. Audible gasps. A few sharp claps that die out quickly, like sparks in the dark. Joy opens her mouth, then closes it again. For a split second, she looks caught off guard. That split second is everything. The co-hosts shift in their seats. Whoopi glances from Taylor to Joy, sensing the edge of a blade. The producers in the control room exchange looks. This is not in the rundown. This is not safe territory. But it's too late to pull back now. Joy laughs lightly, trying to defuse it. Oh, come on, Taylor. You know this isn't personal. It feels personal, Taylor cuts in. Not loudly. Not angrily. Just honestly. And that's what hits hardest. She talks now, not in sound bites, but in sentences that carry weight. About being 17 and told she should be grateful instead of outspoken. About watching her words get twisted into punchlines. About sitting on couches just like this one, smiling while being talked over. The audience is silent. You can hear someone sniffle in the back row. Joy pushes back, a little defensive now. She talks about public figures needing thick skin, about criticism being part of the job. Taylor nods, but her eyes never leave Joy's face. Criticism is part of the job, Taylor agrees. Dismissal shouldn't be. That line lands like a dropped glass. The crowd erupts, not in cheers, but in chaos. Applause clashes with shocked murmurs. A few people stand without realizing they've stood. The energy spikes, raw and unpredictable. Cameras scramble to keep up, cutting between faces. Joy frowning, Whoopi raising an eyebrow, a co-host with a hand over her mouth. Joy straightens in her chair. Now it's her turn to feel cornered. She responds more sharply, accusing Taylor, indirectly, of weaponizing emotion, of framing disagreement as disrespect. The words come faster now, less polished. The audience reacts instantly. Booing mixes with applause. A producer's voice crackles in someone's earpiece. Taylor doesn't interrupt this time. She lets Joy finish. That might be the most unsettling part. When she speaks again, her voice is calm, but there's steel beneath it. She talks about power, about who gets to define narratives, about how having a platform doesn't mean surrendering your humanity. Each sentence feels deliberate, like a lyric written in real time. The crowd is fully engaged now, hanging on every word. Somewhere online, clips are already being cut. Captions are already being written. Hashtags are being born. Joy tries to reclaim control, but the rhythm is gone. This is no longer her show, not in this moment. The studio feels like it's tilting, the balance of power visibly shifting. Taylor sits back finally, but her gaze doesn't soften. She said what she came to say, and maybe more than she planned. The host announces a commercial break, her voice a little too loud, a little too rushed. The applause sign flashes, but the reaction is messy, uneven. As the cameras pull back, Taylor and Joy exchange a final look. It's not hostile. It's something more complicated. A recognition. A challenge. And as the screen fades to black for viewers at home, one thing is unmistakably clear. This wasn't just an interview. It was the opening act of something much bigger. Because when we come back, the gloves won't just be off, they'll be on the floor, and everyone will be watching. When the cameras come back from commercial, the applause sign flashes again. But this time, it feels like a formality. The audience claps because they're told to, not because they know what else to do with the energy still crackling through the room. The tension hasn't cooled. If anything, it's thicker now, heavier, like humidity before a storm finally breaks. Taylor is still seated, but something about her posture has changed. She's leaned back, yes, but not in retreat. It's the posture of someone who has planted their feet and decided not to move again. Her hands rest calmly on her knees, fingers relaxed, but her eyes are alert, scanning the table, the hosts, the audience. She knows where she is. She knows exactly what she's doing. Joy clears her throat. The smile she puts on is practiced, professional, but it doesn't quite mask the irritation beneath it. She tries to reset the tone, mentioning Taylor's tour, the records broken, the cultural impact. Compliments, finally. Safe ground. But safety feels impossible now. Taylor nods politely, thanks her, and for a brief moment, it almost seems like the storm might pass. The audience exhales collectively. Someone laughs at a light joke from another co-host. The rhythm of daytime television tries to reassert itself. Then Joy adds, almost offhandedly, "Of course, with that level of influence comes responsibility. Especially when your words can send millions of fans after someone." The sentence hangs in the air, unfinished but unmistakable. A sharp intake of breath ripples through the audience. Taylor's expression doesn't change immediately. That's what makes it unsettling. She blinks once. Slowly. Inside her head, memories flash. Headlines about fan behavior. Think pieces blaming her for other people's actions. The constant expectation that she police emotions she doesn't control. She leans forward again. "I need to stop you there," Taylor says, still calm, but now unmistakably firm. Joy raises her eyebrows, a reflex more than a reaction. "Go ahead." Taylor doesn't look at the camera. She looks only at Joy. "Holding women accountable for having feelings is one thing," she says. "Holding them accountable for the behavior of strangers is another." The audience reacts immediately. Applause bursts out, louder than before, mixed with cheers. Someone shouts, "Yes," from the back. The energy surges, and this time it doesn't fade quickly. Joy responds, talking over the applause, insisting she wasn't blaming, just questioning. Her voice rises slightly, just enough to betray frustration. "You can't deny," she says, "that your words carry consequences." Taylor nods. "I don't deny that," she replies. "I deny the assumption that silence would somehow be more responsible." That line lands hard. Whoopi shifts in her seat, finally stepping in, trying to moderate. She talks about nuance, about discourse, about how conversations like this matter. But even as she speaks, it's clear the center of gravity has shifted. This isn't a panel discussion anymore. It's a standoff. Joy turns back to Taylor. So what? You're saying criticism itself is unfair? No, Taylor answers immediately. I'm saying selective criticism is revealing. The crowd murmurs. Taylor continues, her voice gaining momentum now, no longer cautious. She talks about how male artists are praised for being outspoken, while women are told to be grateful, quiet, palatable. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. Every word feels sharpened by years of restraint. Joy crosses her arms. You're a billionaire, she says bluntly. It's hard for people to see you as oppressed. That's the spark. The audience reacts instantly. Boos cut through the studio, loud and unrestrained. The applause sign flashes uselessly. Taylor doesn't flinch, but her eyes narrow just slightly. Not in anger. In focus. Money doesn't cancel out misogyny, she says. It just makes people less comfortable admitting it exists. For a moment, no one speaks. The silence is absolute. Even Joy seems taken aback by the clarity of the response. Somewhere off stage, a producer whispers urgently into a headset. Joy tries to pivot again, but the edge is still there. She questions Taylor's public callouts, suggests they're calculated, strategic. The implication is clear. This isn't vulnerability, it's branding. Taylor lets out a small, humorless laugh. The audience reacts to that too, sensing the shift. If standing up for myself is strategy, she says, then staying quiet was the worst business decision I ever made. Applause explodes. This time it's sustained, overwhelming. People are on their feet now, clapping, shouting. The hosts glance at one another, unsure whether to rein it in or let it run its course. The cameras linger on Taylor's face, composed, resolute, unblinking. Joy shakes her head slightly. You see, she says, gesturing to the audience, this is exactly what I mean. Taylor turns toward the crowd briefly, acknowledging them with a nod, then looks back at Joy. They're reacting, she says. Not attacking. There's a difference. Joy opens her mouth to respond, but another co-host jumps in, trying to lighten the mood with a joke that falls flat the moment it leaves her lips. No one laughs. The room is too charged for humor. Taylor takes a breath. A deeper one this time. When she speaks again, there's a quieter intensity, something almost confessional beneath the firmness. She talks about fear, about how speaking up always comes with consequences, especially for women who don't fit neatly into expectations. She admits she's tired. Tired of being dissected. Tired of being told to be smaller. The audience listens, rapt. Even Joy seems to soften for a split second. But pride is a stubborn thing. So what do you want? Joy asks, genuinely now. No criticism at all? Taylor shakes her head. I want fairness, she says. And I want conversations that don't start with assumptions about intent. Another wave of applause. The segment is running long now. The clock is unforgiving. Producers are signaling desperately from off-camera, slicing motions across their throats. Joy nods stiffly. Well, she says, forcing a smile, we may have to agree to disagree. Taylor meets her gaze. That's okay, she says. Disagreement isn't the problem. Dismissal is. The words echo again, heavier this time because they've been proven. As the host announces the next segment, the audience is still buzzing, voices overlapping, energy spilling out in all directions. Taylor sits back, her expression unreadable now. Joy adjusts her papers, avoiding eye contact. What no one in the studio fully realizes, yet, is that the conversation didn't stop when the cameras stayed rolling. Because outside these walls, on phones, on feeds, on timelines, this moment is already taking on a life of its own. Clips are spreading. Opinions are forming. Lines are being drawn. By the time the segment officially ends, the studio no longer feels like a controlled television set. It feels like a pressure chamber that's been cracked open, but not relieved. The audience is still murmuring as the cameras pull back, voices overlapping in hushed excitement and disbelief. Some people are smiling. Others look stunned. A few are already typing furiously on their phones, thumbs flying as if racing the moment itself. Taylor remains seated for a beat longer than necessary, as if grounding herself. The adrenaline hasn't worn off. It's humming under her skin. She can feel it in her fingertips, in the tightness at the base of her neck. Across the table, Joy flips a page that she doesn't need, eyes scanning words she's not reading. The tension between them hasn't disappeared. It's calcified. The show moves on, technically. Another guest. Another topic. But no one in the room is really present anymore. Every reaction feels delayed, distracted. Laughter comes a half-second too late. Applause is uneven. The crew knows it too. You can see it in the way cameramen exchange glances, in the way a stagehand pauses longer than usual behind the curtain, listening. Backstage, the energy explodes the moment Taylor steps off set. Her team surrounds her instantly. Not frantic, but alert. Someone presses a phone into her hand. Notifications are already flooding in. Clips are trending. Hashtags are multiplying by the second. A producer approaches, smiling too tightly, thanking her for coming, praising her honesty, in that careful tone people use when they're not sure whether they've just witnessed brilliance or disaster. Taylor nods politely, but her mind is elsewhere. She scrolls once. Twice. She sees her own face frozen mid-sentence, captions layered over it like verdicts. Some praise her courage. Others accuse her of playing victim. The divide is immediate and absolute. On the other side of the studio, Joy is having her own reckoning. She's surrounded too, co-hosts, assistants, producers all talking at once. Some reassure her. Some urge caution. One quietly suggests she may want to clarify her comments online. Joy waves them off at first, insisting she stands by what she said. But there's a tightness in her expression now that wasn't there before. A sense that the ground beneath her has shifted. Someone shows her a clip. Just a few seconds long. Taylor's voice, calm and unwavering. Money doesn't cancel out misogyny. Joy watches it twice. Then a third time. Her jaw sets. Outside the building, the crowd that's gathered is louder than usual. Fans, onlookers, press, all feeding off the buzz spilling out of the studio walls. When Taylor emerges, escorted by security, the reaction is explosive. Cheers erupt. Phones rise into the air like flares. Someone shouts her name, voice cracking with emotion. Taylor lifts a hand in a small wave, appreciative but overwhelmed. Inside her car, the world goes quiet, but only briefly. Her phone buzzes again. And again. Messages from fellow artists. From friends. From people she hasn't heard from in years. Some say they're proud. Some warn her to brace herself. One message stands out, simple and heavy. You said what a lot of us can't. Meanwhile, online, the narrative fractures into 1,000 versions of the same moment. Clips are slowed down, analyzed frame by frame. Body language experts weigh in. Commentators argue over tone, intent, power dynamics. Some accuse Taylor of ambushing a veteran host. Others call it long overdue accountability. Joy's words are dissected, defended, condemned, all within minutes. The show's official account posts a neutral clip, carefully captioned. It does nothing to slow the momentum. If anything, it fuels it. Back at the studio, an emergency meeting is called. Executives debate optics, responsibility, damage control. Was this good television? Was it a mistake? Ratings projections start rolling in, and the numbers are undeniable. Viewership spikes. Engagement skyrockets. The uncomfortable truth settles in. Controversy sells. Joy sits alone in her dressing room now, scrolling through reactions she pretends not to care about. Praise mixes with venom. Support with accusation. She exhales sharply, rubbing her temples. For the first time since the cameras went dark, she wonders, not publicly, not aloud, whether she underestimated her guest. Taylor, miles away, sits in silence, watching the city pass by outside the window. The initial rush is fading, replaced by something heavier. She knows this pattern. The backlash phase always comes next. She thinks of every time she's spoken up before, every time the narrative turned against her before swinging back again. She wonders how long this one will last. Her phone buzzes once more. Breaking news alerts. Opinion columns already being drafted. Late-night hosts teasing the moment before it's even finished airing coast to coast. This isn't a moment anymore. It's a movement, or a mess, depending on who you ask. And as the night wears on, as reactions harden into positions and positions turn into headlines, one thing becomes clear. Whatever happened on that stage can't be walked back, edited out, or smoothed over. The line has been crossed. And when morning comes, the fallout won't just belong to the studio. It will belong to everyone watching. Morning doesn't soften the impact. It sharpens it. By the time the sun rises, the confrontation has escaped the boundaries of television and settled into the bloodstream of the internet. News alerts stack on phones before alarms even go off. Screens glow with headlines written in tones that swing wildly between reverence and outrage. Some call it a reckoning. Others call it disrespect. Everyone calls it unavoidable. The clip is everywhere now. Not just the full exchange, but fragments. 10 seconds here, 5 seconds there. Each one looping endlessly, stripped of context and repurposed as ammunition. Taylor's calm stare. Joy's raised eyebrow. The silence in between. That silence becomes its own character, replayed and reinterpreted 1,000 different ways. On social media, the chaos is deafening. Hashtags trend worldwide within hours. Fans flood comment sections, defending, praising, dissecting. Critics pile on just as fast, accusing, dismissing, reframing. Entire threads are devoted to a single sentence, a single pause, a single breath. Think pieces bloom like wildfires, some thoughtful, some venomous, all urgent. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone believes theirs is the only honest one. Late-night shows jump in immediately. Monologues turn the moment into punchlines, then pause awkwardly, unsure which side the audience is on. Panel discussions argue not just about what was said, but about what should have been said, who was allowed to say it, and who was expected to stay quiet. Inside the studio where it all began, the mood is somber and electric at the same time. Producers track engagement numbers in silence. They're record-breaking. No one celebrates. Emails pour in, some praising the show for sparking conversation, others threatening boycotts. The word accountability appears in nearly every subject line, used by opposing sides to mean entirely different things. Joy arrives early, sunglasses on, expression unreadable. She doesn't address the moment on air. Not yet. The absence of commentary becomes commentary itself. Viewers notice. Speculation explodes. Is she standing her ground? Is she being advised to stay silent? Is an apology coming or a doubling down? Taylor, meanwhile, stays offline. That silence becomes its own storm. Fans interpret it as strength. Critics interpret it as calculation. Every hour without a statement fuels another wave of theories. When a single photo surfaces, Taylor leaving a studio days later, expression neutral, it racks up millions of views in minutes. Captions fight for dominance beneath it, each one trying to define her before she defines herself. Artists, writers, public figures begin to weigh in. Some cautiously, some boldly. Stories emerge, quiet admissions of moments just like this one, of couches sat on, smiles forced, words swallowed. The confrontation opens a door many didn't realize was unlocked. By evening, the tone shifts. It's no longer just about Taylor or Joy. It's about power, about voice, about who gets challenged and who gets shielded. Comment sections turn into battlegrounds. Friendships strain. Timelines fracture into opposing realities. Algorithms feed the fire relentlessly. Then finally, Taylor speaks. Not in a video. Not in an interview. Just a short statement, measured, composed, unmistakably hers. She thanks people for listening. She clarifies nothing, apologizes for nothing. She reiterates one simple idea. Conversation matters when it's rooted in respect. The post goes viral instantly. Supporters celebrate it as grace. Detractors call it evasive. The cycle continues. Joy responds hours later, longer, firmer, more defensive. She stands by her right to question powerful figures. She insists her intent was never personal. The response is immediate and explosive. Some rally behind her. Others accuse her of missing the point entirely. There is no resolution, only echoes. Weeks from now, the moment will still be referenced. Months from now, it will still be argued over. Years from now, it will be folded into montages, retrospectives, cultural timelines. A single conversation that became a symbol of friction, of change, of everything unsaid before it. And somewhere in the noise, one truth remains impossible to ignore. Nothing that happened in that studio was small. Not the words, not the silence, not the reaction. This wasn't just television. It was a line drawn in real time, with millions watching. Now we want to hear from you. Whose side are you on and why? Did this moment change how you see power, criticism, and voice in the spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more explosive, cinematic stories that pull you right into the room, subscribe to Neon Narration. Because the next shock is always closer than it looks.